Sekai is my name here on the Creative Lounge, an exciting show where Ori is here talking about technology in different times, in different eras, in different sectors, in everything that we do. Over the past shows, we've seen what technology is, we've seen how we're applying it, and now we are digging deep. Now, before we mentioned, we are an agribusiness organization, and here today we are discussing agritech. What's agriculture currently like in Africa? Where has it been? Where is it taking us? Today on this show, we are looking at those current trends. We are looking at where agribusiness has been, specifically in Africa, here in Uganda, East Africa.
The things are concerned. Today, we are going to dive first into the history of agribusiness, where we have been, and then where we are, and then where we will be. Time to come.
Yes. Amos is a man, they normally call it a jack of all trades. He's an expert in so many things. That is why we have him here on the show. You'll be seeing him on so many other shows, but we are very proud and very lucky and excited to have him today. He's mentioned we shall be looking at where we've been in agritech, specifically technology in agribusiness or in agriculture and in Africa. We want to look at where we've been, what have we been using. Remember, we looked at technology being or the ability to use tools for them to make practical meaning. See, anything currently, we have computers and we see them as technology. Yet technology comes from way far, and that's what we want to dive into right now. We've come from very far as Africa, as a continent, as a country. We've been using agriculture, or we've been surviving on agriculture for a very, very long time. In primary, we used to study that agriculture is a backbone
our backbone
of Africa. It's why we rely from. It's what we should be looking at. Now we want to look at the modern technologies as well. We shall look at them in our next session. But currently, we wanted to look at some of the things. Where we've been, waje tuvude. Amos, very quickly, before looking at statistics, what is something random? Where we've been in agriculture, anything that you remember. A movie said that in the older times, what were our forefathers, our grandparents, what were they using? Because they are still now you can't say they were not doing anything.
Exactly.
Yes. What do you think?
Not so many years ago, if I say not so many years ago, it's like 20 years back, our parents, our grandmamas, they used to go to carry out the cultivation, but you all remember, in most cases by then we are using hoes. There were other means of cultivation they could use, but mainly there were hoes and then pangers, axes, all that. But this time around, I'm seeing there is some improvement. It's very rare these days. I don't know, but there are some changes. A lot has been happening in agritech, as you tell these people. There is a lot has been happening. But before we go into that deep story, allow me clarify these people who are watching us that
enlighten me.
Years back, there are times these parents of ours could really get tired when it comes to cultivating an acre of land, preparing it, plowing it, and then come to weeding, they come to harvesting. All that, it was a little bit tiresome. They were just using manpower mainly. But I'm seeing these days as YPA, we have come up with this advancement in technology whereby we can now implement this the technology in farming. Let's say when it comes to milking these days, we use machines. When it comes to plowing these days, we are using tractors, whereby now we have even an advantage in that an acre can be plowed in just hours these days, not like those days whereby you could collect almost the whole village to come and then plow an acre in a period of 2 weeks. They are on just an acre.
And what is causing this change that I was talking about is a shift in technology. Now, like he's been talking in the olden times, because there's a lot that we've been doing. These are things that we need to discuss. Africa is our home, Uganda is our home. We can't hide that way. Someone usually says, okumanya wajogenda. You should already know where you're from. You should connect the dots. Actually, it's very, very important that even the future where we're going from, because without the past, we are nothing. Mind the present should be treasured more. We should really connect the dots. And it's what we're trying to do here in agribusiness and in agriculture. Now, you noted some important things. I also noted quite some things. Before, we were using things like hose. And as much as we're doing all these things, what we've all been looking, or what we're currently looking at, is efficiency, having more yield, saving time, better quality, adding value addition to our crops. Before, if we are now directly talking about tools, farm tools, we are using things like hose. It's talked about how you use a hoe. You wake up at 5 or 4 in the morning, before the sun comes out. You must make sure and before that morning dew gets out. Before that mid-morning sunshine comes out. So we're looking at these tools. Some of these tools were very hard. Try to save into like Mbako, in Soga, in Uganda, in English. Some things like pangas, machetes, really hardcore tools that required a lot of energy, weight, but as African men, as African people, we are very proud with nature.
And on top of that, you could see that in most cases we could be limited by the time zones where we are going to work. But here we are in an era whereby cultivation has no time, because those days ngoyina okukera nanze jajjange ebiseera ebyo nga nkeeza ssaawa 11 in that nti mugenda ne mulima ng'omusulo gukyakola ki gukyaliyo akasana tekaaka tekolaki ne mumala ne mukola ki ne munyuka ku ssaawa 3. But today you find ourselves cultivating at each and every hour, each and every second. Cultivation is very possible
important.
Because of the advancement in the technology.
Yes, and looking at cultivation specifically, before we used to do things like where you'd burn, you'd slash, manual slashers. I was in a primary school called Iganga Boys, and we didn't have a lot of workers that would help us, because in Musoga, we love sweet potatoes. So from the very first time you join, the upper class is starting from senior P4. Mukwata slashers, mukwata nkumbi, mugenda ne mutandika okusawa. So all these things were already preparing our land. We were doing some bit of mulching, but we were using a lot of traditional tools. Remember, there was technology. We were still using technology, and we say technology was the use of tools to really bring out something with meaning. So even hoes, even machetes, that's technology as well. There were tools that we were using to bring out better yield. Those were olden things. We shall be looking at the modern tools we are using, but in this session we are still looking at some of the olden things that we've been using. We can't ignore that. It's been very important. Irrigation. Irrigation, that if at all you remember Amos, we used to use a lot of traditional irrigation things like watering cans, furrow irrigation, somewhere to really make sure you're getting direct water from somewhere else. That was another way of irrigation. You had to wait for rain, you had to wait for seasons.
We had the seasons, mainly 2 seasons. But this time around, we are in an era whereby we no longer wait for rain. As long as at the moment we realize that we need water, we don't need rain, but we need water for cultivation or for agriculture. So for this time around, we don't wait for the natural rain. But those days back, actually, nga tulina linda nkuba era lwetonya kwolwo enkumbi zonna enkeera fenno bajjajjaffe nga olwo mu katale tujja keera tugende tuleete enkumbi era kwolwo akatale konna kwolwo akatale akabaayo ku Mande kuba tugenze kugula nkumbi kuba enkuba ekoze eki enkuba etonnye. So kyamazima technology ayina engeri gyatujje ekirina okwapreciatinga.
Because right now if we are looking at seasons, these days seasons zikyusemu by the way. Because those days nga mufuna akasana ne kaka mu January ne kaka mu December, but you'll find there is a year where things were actually going crazy. Seasons ne zikyukira ddala. At some point people thought it was because of global warming, but if we're in olden times, awo kiba kitulidde for lack of a better word. Oba osuubira enkuba wogisuubidde teze. So those were some of the olden things. Fine tugamba all these goals, we are having some really interesting stories from Amos.
And again, there is something I've just remembered when it comes to the old days, whereby our production scale was a little bit limited, and that one even brought in our market boundaries also to be limited, because the moment you have low production, it means that you won't be in a position to supply more produce to other people. We forgot. So when yes, in the old days, actually we used to Gandhi cultivate, but our target was to get the food to satisfy our homes only. But here comes an era whereby technology has helped us, whereby a single home can produce tons and tons of maize.
Yes.
But without technology, and more so I emphasize that, or I call upon each and every person, our grandpapas and then mamas knew that agriculture is really a real business. It's not for peasant. You know, there is a way people tried to minimize us or to minimize farmers when they called them peasants.
And by the
peasant, that
isn't a very bad word.
That is a very bad word. And then when you describe yourself to be a peasant, it feels like you feel small, you as yourself, an individual. But I want to tell all agricultural people out there, those who are practicing agriculture, that we are not peasants, by the way. We are the chief, I could say it, we are the chief engineers of each and every man's life. Because without food, you cannot live.
Yeah, people are living on the food.
To a person who is watching me right now, I think you have already sipped something from agriculture, from soil today.
At the moment, now, someone is sipping, someone is eating something.
Yes.
And the very things that we are on, some of them are woven.
There's no way you can call me a peasant, and I think that word should be changed.
Amos, peasant. We are still looking at agribusiness. And we've looked at technology being a very important thing in revolutionizing agriculture to agribusiness. Because before, like you said, we used to farm for purposes of only feeding our homes. But now here comes an organization like Youth Platform Africa. Here comes technology that is changing agriculture to agribusiness. You should be able to, in Uganda, or from the Bible, they normally send to something of the sort. So we should be able to get we should be able to get some money. But this is through the use of modern agribusiness practices, which we shall be looking at. Before we wind up, I wanted us to look at, there is really a lot from where we've come from. Things like storage. Before, in case you remember, you're a traditional man, you've been talking about some of these things. Some of the things I remember from before, we tried to take Kenyama in granaries. Kenyama in some kind of mud building, the Kenyama for a very long time. We're now looking at storage. These were storage tools, this was technology. You can imagine keeping meat for months and months. By the time you come to eat it again, we appreciate this. All this gold is what they usually say, and we can't fail to recognize some of these things. What the modern ways have really improved. Amos, what are some of the things that you remember in how we used to store our food?
Excuse me. There is something I've just remembered. Omanyi nakula ne jjajjange. Jjajja yali atera nga tufumbye ettooke eryo. Ayina engeri gya preservingamu eggolu olimanyi.
Eggolu
ayina engeri gyalisaanyikako, yes, walijja ku mmere bw'ati n'alisivumbika wali eri wansi w'omuliro. mwana wa taata nga n'enkya ne luli nga musobola ogirirako emmere ennaku nga 3 naye nga liringa liri eri omunnakampala kati lyaterese n'omulawo ye lyayita eriri fresh. So there is a lot
we used to hang yams nga tuhanga yams on smoke to be able to preserve them. We used to put salt. These are some of the things you studied in social studies. To be minded, but you have to bring back, you have to tickle your mind, you have to refresh your bit. To again, even if we're adopting technology, there is somewhere we've been surviving. Though right now we want to modernize it more, we want to get better yield, we want to be more efficient, we want to have more value to the food that we are producing. Livestock management, there is a lot that we used to do in terms of how we're managing our livestock. Until before, ng'olina okutwala ente n'ogenda n'ozijja wawe zibadde waka n'ozitwala eri ku ttale to go and find water, to go and find greener pastures. We shall look at what we're doing currently. These days we have modern farming, and zigala wawe ziri neziri ebiwata neziri everything, but in one place. Those days you travel long distances. Nemugenda Abanyankole normally even have something to oli nga bagenda wajje balundidde ente oli ng'omusanga ku kibeere kwanywera n'amata. So these are interesting stories, but this is where we've been. Old practices in agriculture. What do you remember?
When it comes to grazing, there is a lot I really remember. Certainly that maybe because of time, I may shorten this story. In that we used to walk long distances, by the way. We could walk, we could pass through cross villages, just seeking for water and then pasture. But I really thank agriculture, the advancement in agricultural practices, in that these days we no longer do it, but we have a higher production. There's a lot, because I remember one day when we are still grazing, we used to get them tethered, like tied on the rope, and then we take them to the fields. Then in the evening we bring them back. So it is a little bit time consuming. At the same time, by the way, it stresses even these animals. By the way, that's what
putting the ropes in their necks, and you find that they are now not even okay. You find that the animals, you're not even getting better yield. Hello.